Hello everyone! Today's story is Even If the Villain's Daughter Regresses. Please like and subscribe to the channel, it really helps us out. Now, let's begin. On a blood-soaked night filled with screams, our 20-year-old heroine, Laya Hildegard, knows her end is near. She prepares the return stone. Just as a handsome blonde knight, his armor stained crimson, enters her room, she desperately pleads for her life, insisting she despises her own family, his sworn enemies. But his chilling reply seals her fate. Without shedding her Hildegard blood, she is beyond saving. So she asks one final question. If she had tried to stop the fire and his murder 10 years ago, would he show mercy now, even if she had tried and failed? His answer is a definitive no. Laya gives up, defiantly raising her middle finger. Cursing him, she wishes to never meet him again. With that, she swallows the stone and welcomes death. What an icon. Prepare yourselves, everyone. Laya is the daughter of the ruthless villain Marquis Hildegard, and her twisted fate began at 10 years old when her father brought that blonde boy home as a slave. Drawn by his ethereal beauty, she snuck down to the dungeon where he was imprisoned. But the screams and the stench of blood sent her running. Soon after, she heard the boy had died. Then, 8 years later, a hero who sealed a demon appeared. He was the boy's spitting image, but no one believed Laya's claims. 2 years after that, this same hero arrived at the Hildegard mansion, unleashing a bloody storm of revenge. Laya rewound time 10 years after managing to steal the return stone from her father. In her second life, she immediately fled the Hildegard estate, casting her name aside. But my poor girl was murdered by a coachman who then stole all her money. Realizing a child can't survive alone, she waited until 16, escaping to a kingdom overseas. But it was no use. The hero hunted her down. In her fourth life, she married, hoping to finally escape the name Hildegard. Yet it was pointless. The hero still appeared to claim her life. Laya is done with this endless cycle of regression. She finally snaps at her father for his evil, for treating lives like they are nothing. She breaks down completely, desperately asking how she can possibly drain the cursed blood of the Hildegards. This outburst gets her exiled to a southern villa, where she waits for the hero. After 10 long years, he finally arrives to end her life. This man's dedication to revenge is on another level, which brings us to the present. In her sixth life, our dear Laya completely loses it. And honestly, can you blame her? Still, she calms herself and analyzes her situation. First, she can return multiple times. The real question is how many. She must avoid pointless deaths. Second, her regression point is fixed. May 11th, as a 10-year-old in her bedroom. This brings us to the third point. She can never avoid the arson, the day her father burned down the orphanage where the blonde boy once lived. Fourth, she can't recall the exact moment of her death, which is a blessing. If she had to relive that pain, she would have gone mad long ago. During a family gathering, it is clear Laya has many half-siblings. Yet, she considers none of them family. Her father arrives with a child, a sight that always fills our girl with terror. But this time, she forces herself to be friendly. However, the child slaps her hand away, earning him a vicious beating ordered by her father, who glares at Laya. This man wouldn't hesitate to kill his own children, and she knows full well that her father could end her life with a single command. So when her father asks what to do with the boy, she trembles, forced to agree he should be punished harshly. That is the Hildegard way. Later that evening, Laya sneaks to the dungeon. With her innocent charm, a guard lets her inside the boy's cell. He's passed out cold, so she begins to apply medicine to his back. She even chews an herb and passes it into his mouth. But as she turns to leave, out of nowhere, the boy seizes her leg. Laya sees her future killer's face, and her legs give out. She begins to cry, screaming for him to let her go. Her terrified reaction startles the child. The moment he loosens his grip, she flees. She may not remember her deaths, but the trauma is clearly seared into her soul. Laya wakes up the next morning with renewed determination. Since her father is now ignoring the child, she's free to visit him with food and medicine. However, instead of growing closer to him, his loathing for her only intensified. A cold poison. She saw visions of her future, a tragic death at his very hands. During dinner, their father declares a hunt, his voice laced with unspoken intentions. While everyone cheered, a cold dread seized her. This was the day he was fated to die. A sly smirk on her face, she approached Wilhelm, needing him to steal a bracelet from their father. She subtly blackmailed him, mentioning the funds he embezzled. Trapped, he had no choice but to comply. Her plan in motion, Laya slipped into a carriage. And there, deep in sleep, was the boy she had to save. She knew his grim fate. A single arrow was meant to end his young life. But this bracelet was her one hope to defy destiny. She shadowed the servant, leading him deep into the woods. When the servant vanished, he turned. His cold eyes knew she'd been following him the entire time. "Go away," he snarled, his voice laced with ice, making her wonder why he hated her so. "Your efforts are useless." Suddenly, the bracelet pulsed with an urgent light. The signal. Without hesitation, she dove to shield him, taking the arrow meant for his heart. She thought she had succeeded, but she died instead, now in her 7th life. The bracelet was Wilhelm's signal. This time, she felt a powerful resolve. "You're safe with me," she silently vowed to him. This act, she prayed, would win his trust, preventing her future murder in 10 years. A truly desperate gamble. But there was no time for doubt. Shaking off the dizziness, she raced outside, determined not to be late. When her father appeared with the boy, a chilling laugh echoed from his lips, much to her surprise. He applauded her tenacity, praising her for appearing despite a severe nosebleed. Impressed by her spirit, the Marquis granted her a single wish, a precious card she decided to save. In her room, her pale reflection stared back, bloodied. A thought surfaced. Was this the price of turning back time? Her maid, Marie, quickly brought a tea meant to restore her fading strength. Despite the bitter taste, she drank it all. Marie was so kind, Leia swore to forgive any mistake she might make. In fact, she even encouraged her to make a very big one. Because in the future, Marie flees after stealing her jewels. This time, Leia hoped she'd take even more to escape. A week passed. The next hunt was announced. She overheard a chilling warning to the boy. "Don't run, arrows are waiting." When the bracelet pulsed, she sprinted toward him. But in a shocking twist, he saved her, and they dodged the arrow. Yet another still found its mark in him. The horrible truth dawned on her. This wasn't a hunt. It was her father's execution ground. With grim determination, she carried him from the forest, directly to her waiting father. As darkness took her, she used her wish, pleading with her father to save the boy's life. That night, she was summoned before the Marquis. He demanded to know why she entered the forbidden forest. Relieved Wilhelm had hidden the bracelet, she said she was simply curious about the boy. Her father's lips twisted into a cruel smirk. He'd seen her embrace the boy, yet still let the arrows fly. This man cared nothing for his own daughter's life. Leia knelt, steeling herself for any punishment he deemed fit. But she made a bold request: give her the boy. In return, she vowed to do the impossible within a year. After a tense negotiation, the Marquis, intrigued by the deal, finally agreed to her terms. Her punishment, however, remained. Later, she went to his room, hearing him murmur about family in his sleep. His voice was thick with tears, his words filled with agonizing self-blame. Listening to his whispers, Leia understood. The orphanage was his home. Those people were his family. She couldn't fathom the pain of losing everything he loved right before his very eyes. She pushed the thought away. The true villain behind his suffering was her own cruel father. The next day, she wept for the boy who would one day kill her. Was she a saint for pitying her own executioner? Just then, Marie entered. She announced that the boy had finally woken up. Leia paused, then resolved to face him. She sent Marie away for the rest of the day. Model. Fear gripped her, but Leia waved to the boy. He offered nothing in return. Frustrated, she tried again, but he remained a wall of silence. She changed tactics, thanking him for the rescue. His eyes finally met hers, only to coldly deny it. Leia attempted to explain, but he insisted he never saved her. A warm smile touched her lips. She had his attention. She thanked him again, calling him her lifesaver and vowing to change his fate. Leia cheerfully said they should get along, secretly hoping he would spare her this time. He just gave her a chilling stare. She calmly sat on the bed, introducing herself and asking his name. His silence was her answer. So, she would call him Cashin, the name of her bunny doll. That was his hero name. To her horror, his gaze turned murderous, sending a chill down her spine. He scratched his head, irritated, before finally telling her his name was Scion. He permitted her to use his name, causing her to grin before thanking him and making a swift exit. After she left, Scion's mind drifted back to Cashin, to their very first meeting at the orphanage. Cashin had asked for his name, stunning him. No one had ever bothered to ask before. After a moment's thought, he muttered the word beggar. Cashin's shock made Scion panic, and he rushed to list all the names he was called, until Cashin stopped him. Cashin gently explained those weren't real names, leaving Scion to the sad truth that he didn't have one. Seeing the heartbreak in his eyes, Cashin patted Scion's head, promising he could choose his own name later, just as he did. He then gazed at Scion, noting how his golden hair shone. With a smile, he suggested the name Sunny, just as Adele entered. Adele gathered everyone, announcing that Sion would be staying with them from that day on. The introductions began. Cashin was 14, their oldest brother, and Adele was the big sis. Then came Ashley, Mike, Ray, and the youngest of them all, Cecile. They were so warm and welcoming. It wasn't long before Sion considered them his true siblings. However, they felt Sunny didn't quite suit him. But when asked, Sion smiled, saying he actually liked the name. Oh, he had such a precious smile back then. A smile that is now long gone. Their life was simple but happy. Sometime later, they gathered again, and he announced the name he had chosen. For Sion, the orphanage was home. It's where he received his name and learned the meaning of family. One day, Cecile dragged Sion to the market. It was her birthday, and Cashin had given her money. But her dream was to buy gifts for their parents. They spent their time choosing, rushing home as the sun set. They both fell asleep in the carriage, until Sion awoke to see a fire blazing in the direction of their home. He lied to Cecile, telling her it was a surprise party for her birthday. He told her to return home late, before jumping from the moving carriage and telling the coachman to go back. When he arrived, the house was engulfed in flames. He bravely charged inside, desperate to save everyone, but his heart shattered at the sight. Sion fell to his knees and screamed before taking out the knights one by one, catching the eye of Marquis Hildegard. The Marquis threatened the person in the carriage, forcing Sion to beg and promise to do anything he asked. This brought a hideous smile to the Marquis's face, as he clearly enjoyed the boy's suffering. He then announced he would prepare a grave just for Sion. I swear, I just want to slap this demented old man. It's no surprise this boy committed genocide. During the hunt, Sion realized all the arrows were aimed directly at him. He understood this was the grave the Marquis prepared. He felt relieved, believing Cecile would be safe now. So when an arrow pierced his heart, he smiled. He would see his family again. But to his utter confusion, he awoke in an adult body, where the temple people praised him as the divine's descendant. He learned that a divine descendant's power doesn't activate until they turn 18. Thus, if their body dies before that age, the soul is preserved until they are ready. Sion had returned from the dead with a powerful new body, feeling awkward with his toned physique. The temple helped Sion train for 2 years. As prophesied, the evil demon appeared, and Sion began a 15-day battle. He was a boy of 12, trapped in an 18-year-old's body, forced into the role of a hero. A feat impossible for mortals, Sion could heal from any wound, so long as his heart and head were safe. But the pain was always real. The marks on his hand were his remaining lives. He had already lost one, leaving only 2 precious chances left. After sealing the demon and claiming his title as hero, Sion took the name of his fallen brother, Cassian. Through letters, he kept contact with Cecile, only to learn she had become a powerful countess. Before seeing her, he visited their family grave, telling tales of his heroism before wiping the Hildegard estate from existence. His deep hatred now made perfect sense. For him, the tragedy was as vivid as yesterday. No knight could stop his wrath. And when he finally faced Marquis Hildegard, he demanded the answer to the one question that mattered. Why did you burn the orphanage 10 years ago? The Marquis, a vessel of pure evil, couldn't even remember the sin. He simply muttered it wasn't intentional, forcing Sion to end him in tears, realizing his family's lives meant nothing. His vengeful massacre continued, and the last soul he encountered was Laya Hildegard. I adore how the narrative shows us both of their tormented points of view. Laya only gave him a final, defiant gesture before swallowing a stone and collapsing. Uneasy, he approached and swung his sword. But to his shock, he awoke in his 10-year-old body. Believing it a nightmare, he tried to sleep it away. And so began Laya's second life. This time ended at the hands of the coachman. Every time she died, he too was dragged back to the past. A cruel twist. His third life was a near-perfect echo. He was pierced by an arrow, and once again became a celebrated hero. But he soon realized the demon was not the trigger for his regressions. His suspicion fell upon Laya. He hunted her down and took her life. But it happened again. His fourth life had begun. He was utterly convinced Laya was the curse, returning him to the past as a sick form of revenge. He believed she wanted him to endlessly relive losing his family, the agony of the arrow, and the battle with the demon. He swore he would never stop pursuing her. Oh, the tragic misunderstanding between them. Again, he slaughtered the entire Hildegard house before seeking out his sister, Cecile. Seeing her brought him relief, proving to himself he wasn't going mad. But Cecile was horrified by the rumors. Sion was forced to tell her the truth. The Hildegards murdered their parents. To his surprise, Cecile already knew, having investigated the arson herself after becoming a countess. But she couldn't accept his bloody revenge. Sion's expression grew cold, his aura becoming dangerously serious. He declared that sharing the Marquis's blood and serving him were their crimes, leaving Cécile horrified. My heart is with the sister. But when I consider that Sion was mentally and emotionally frozen in time, I feel only sorrow. His life has been a truly twisted tragedy. Sion then offered a smile completely devoid of guilt. Cécile couldn't stop herself from whispering that he'd gone insane. But Sion only grinned wider and agreed with her. That night, he found Laya. In this fourth life, she had been married off. It was clearly not a happy union, as she was covered in bruises from her foul old husband. Sion dealt with the husband, but seeing Laya's injuries filled him with a protective rage that reminded him of Cécile. Still, he resolved to end her life. Our poor girl sighed in defeat. In his fifth life, he killed her at the southern villa, praying she would give up. But his prayers went unanswered. In his sixth life, the timeline shattered. Laya stepped in to shield him, sacrificing herself in his place. Now, we are in the present, his seventh life. After her sacrifice, Sion finally saw the horrifying truth. Laya wasn't the cause. It was her death itself that was turning back the hands of time. To understand this curse, he needs the temple's aid. Therefore, he must avoid regressing at all costs. His new mission is to guarantee Laya's survival, which is why he saved her. From her executioner to her protector, progress at last. Sion is still recovering, but finds no peace with Laya near. Her bright, sunny nature is a constant irritation. He questions why she tries to befriend the very man who has murdered her countless times. But he chooses to keep his secrets, knowing just how unpredictable she truly is. Her greeting was brief, but the tremor in her body betrayed her deep-seated fear of him. He moved to his drawer, his hand closing around the only memento he had left, his mother's handkerchief. A silent vow escaped him. He would find a way to shatter this loop of time, to ensure the family who destroyed his could never return. This boy's entire world was built on vengeance, with no room left for himself. For sneaking into the forest, Laya's punishment was swift and cruel. A 90% cut in allowance for 3 months, and confinement to the estate for 1 month. Worst of all, she was reduced to 1 meal a day for a week, which she had to share with Sion. She knew this was a test, and so she gave every single meal to him, even as her own body began to fail. Telling herself it was just 2 more days, she spotted a scrap of paper on the floor, only for him to suddenly appear as she reached for it. His voice was cold as ice, warning her to never open his first drawer. She agreed instantly and fled. 4 days ago, Laya tried to teach him to read, only to discover he was already literate. She'd given him paper and a pen, hoping to give his restless mind an outlet. But now, seeing those crumpled sheets, a cold dread washed over her. What if they were filled with curses against her father? If found, he'd be punished, and her efforts would be for nothing. But what she saw shocked her. It was a simple sketch of a warm, welcoming home. Relief warred with a pang of sorrow. The drawing felt so real, she could almost smell soup cooking, making her own hunger unbearable. Her head spun, and through a daze, she noticed berries growing on the bushes. Grown in their garden, they had to be safe. She took a desperate, confident bite. But fate was cruel. The fruit's toxin coursed through her, and her world instantly went black. Sion was drawn by the maid's panicked cries, begging the doctor to save Laya. He had to see what was happening. The doctor assured them the poison was mild, she would recover with the right herbs. But Elvin had discovered something far more grave. A diagnosis that chilled Sion to the bone: severe malnutrition. The truth crashed down on him. Laya's punishment was only 1 meal a day, and for the past 5 days, he had eaten every last bite. Why would she do this for him, the very person who despised her? He had pointed his sword at her, making his hatred perfectly clear. Yet she had still tended his wounds and offered him her food. He stumbled back as Laya began to mumble. She must be dreaming. There was no way he would willingly be in her room. He reached for the bell to alert the maids. But then he froze. A chilling realization dawned. In all this time, no one had come to check on her. He wondered why the Marquis, the Marchioness, and her siblings showed no concern. Her words from their first life echoed in his mind. "Your enemy is my enemy." He finally understood. She was just as much a prisoner in this house as he was. Still, he told himself he couldn't spare her. Trapped in a nightmare, Laya saw Sion's face and spoke without fear, asking if he felt guilty for being the only one to survive. She sat up, her voice weak, and spoke of a promise to her sister to live until she was 90. She recalled a day when everyone she loved left, sensing her sister might not return. She'd begged to go too, but her sister made her stay. And so, Laya became the sole survivor. But she never blamed herself, because she knew it was her sister's final wish. Laya understood true love. Her sister had saved her by making her stay behind. And with that story, she was trying to tell Sion one thing: the tragedy was never his fault. One of them fought to live for a promise. The other wished only to die and rejoin his family. After 2 days, Laya finally woke from her death-like sleep. When she heard Sion hadn't eaten, she flew into a panic and rushed to his side. He looked thinner. A terrible thought struck her. Was she just forcing him to endure a life he didn't want? Pushing the doubt aside, she simply asked if he would eat with her. To her surprise, he agreed. Laya sought out Wilhelm, asking how to make someone want to live again, causing the gentle giant to weep, thinking she meant herself. She quickly corrected him, explaining it was for someone she knew, someone who had lost their entire family. Laya realizes her eternal regressions are not his reality. For Sion, the loss happened less than a month ago. Wilhelm pinpoints it as a grief-related ailment. In its darkest form, it steals one's desire to exist. While a perfect cure doesn't exist, he knows techniques that can ease the suffering. They could help him step back from the edge. Laya is given 3 simple tasks to help him: daily walks, balanced meals, and steady conversation. It sounds easy. But she has to persuade the broken boy first. But to her shock, he just agrees. To walks, meals, everything. A week of this routine is draining her completely. You can see the exhaustion on her face. But she's still just as cute. The routine itself isn't the problem. It's being with Sion constantly that feels suffocating. He used to sneer and tell her to get lost. But now, his absolute silence is deeply unsettling. She can't tell if he's improving or getting worse, but Laya is resolved to fix this broken boy. She practices her smile but is interrupted by her brother, Thomas, with his distinct red hair. He arrives only to call her the family's disgrace. Others now provoke her constantly, all because she earned their father's favor and a single wish. Thomas sneers at her for spending time with a mute slave. He suggests something vile, since the boy can't scream. Laya immediately cuts him off. Being with Sion is never boring, not when he's that handsome. She gives Thomas a disgusted look, calling him the boring one. And with that, Laya is gone. Honestly, Sion's muteness is a blessing. That boy's words can cut deeper than any knife. She told him it was best to keep up the mute act. Surprisingly, he just said yes without questions. After another week, Sion's arm has completely healed. Laya is also free from her punishment now. To celebrate, she plans a picnic at a nearby lakeside. Laya is truly enjoying the day. Their guard, 𝑨𝒍𝒐𝒏'𝒕, suggests a spot with a much better view, so they venture further. He suddenly claims to have forgotten the picnic basket. But this trip had a deeper purpose for Laya. It was Wilhelm's idea to use scenery to help Sion heal. Laya asks if he finds the place beautiful. She's relieved when he admits he doesn't hate it. That small victory is more than enough for her. Suddenly, a sound from the woods catches her attention. She turns to see a wild wolf staring them down. She knows wolves aren't common here. The carriage is nearby, yet 𝑨𝒍𝒐𝒏'𝒕 hasn't returned. Even more alarming, their carriage is completely gone. Her mind races. Could Thomas have bribed them both? That brat wasn't just a bully, he was a monster. A tremor of pure fear runs through her. She fears this life is about to end again, but she's forgotten one thing. Sion is with her now. The boy strolls toward the wolf without fear. A few bare-handed strikes send the beast running. Laya is stunned. She's actually still alive. But the biggest shock? For the first time in 7 lives, her killer is asking if she's hurt. Confused, she asks if he's talking to her. Sion falls silent, and an awkward tension fills the air. She forces herself up on weak legs, insisting she's fine. Then she notices his wrist is shattered. He warns her not to bother with a splint or a bandage from her dress. Their priority now is to escape this place. He warns that he can't fight off another wolf. They find the carriage, with the coachman and 𝑾𝒐𝒏'𝒕 just casually talking. The two are shocked to see them. 𝑾𝒐𝒏'𝒕 quickly invents a flimsy excuse. Laya doesn't waste time arguing. She'll let her father handle this. He enjoys punishing traitors after all. That night, Laya kneels before her father. She demands justice for those who tried to kill her: Thomas, 𝑾𝒐𝒏'𝒕, and the coachman. Laya already knew of a secret meeting between Thomas and 𝑾𝒐𝒏'𝒕. Proving their guilt will be easy. But her real worry was if her father would even care about her at all. Shockingly, the Marquis summoned the ones she named. He had them executed on the spot, before Thomas and Laya. He's a monster, but he's on my side for now. Thomas tried to deny everything, but froze when their father mentioned the wolf-luring perfume found in his room. His maid Angela suddenly stepped forward, asking the Marquis to speak. "Oh, please just stay quiet. You can't be serious." For a ruthless madman, he let the maid speak. How utterly disappointing. Angela insisted Thomas never planned to murder Laya. She admitted he despised the slave, and ordered the men to only injure him slightly. She pleaded that the boy was only 11, too young for such schemes. Both knelt, begging for mercy. The Marquis just laughed, giving Thomas only 3 days of confinement. But then, the Marquis's gaze turned cold. He warned Thomas never to start a fight again. The boy paled and agreed instantly. The punishment was light, but the warning was clear. Thomas could never touch her again. Laya went to check on Sion. Finding him asleep, she sat quietly beside his bed to watch over him. Relief washed over her. This 10-year-old boy had just tried to shield her from a wolf, and she saw him, the future Sion who once pulled her from the depths of her own panic. She wondered if this was the reassurance he gave the world as its hero. She felt a pang of envy, if only she weren't a Hildegard. Lost in thought, she was startled when he whispered her name for the first time. She quickly thanked him for his bravery, but he immediately denied it. Still, her heart felt warm. By fighting the wolf, he showed a will to live. Sion started to change after Laya rushed to his side when he ate that poisonous fruit. She had guided him to the hall, and for a brief moment, a strange thought surfaced. She should worry about herself first. The thought surprised even him. He couldn't help but notice her delicate neck, her slender ankles. This was the beginning. His mind and body were no longer his own. He just needed time. He only agreed to their first walk to keep her from eating more poison. Or so he told himself. It was a flimsy excuse. But he chose not to question it, simply following her lead without a word, like a lifeless doll. He believed she'd tire of him, that the Marquis would discard him. So why did this anxiety twist inside him? He hated seeing that nervous look in her eyes. He even asked if she was hurt, instead of mocking her fear. And now, he couldn't tear his eyes from her smile. It was working. Laya's plan was finally taking root. Leia was especially radiant today, her hair adorned with flowers, all Marie's handiwork. She caught him smiling. The moment she asked why, his expression hardened back into a frown. Unfazed, she pressed him until he admitted he was just mocking her hair accessory. Then he asked where she was going. Her heart leaped. It was the first time he'd ever asked. She wondered if there was a place he wanted to see. In truth, he only asked because she looked ready to leave. But he didn't argue. He simply agreed, claiming he wanted to see the flower shop. It was her flower accessory that caught his eye. Oddly, he thought it suited her. It seems we know who's falling first. From the flower shop, their next stop was the Grand Library. She asked to split up to find books on the return stone, but her search yielded nothing. Suddenly, a boy with black and red hair appeared, telling her the flower's name was Butterfly Dance. Laya's suspicious gaze made the boy quickly apologize. But before they could speak more, a knight arrived for him. He had to be someone important. After the library, they went for lunch, and Laya invited her guard, Sir Taylor, to join them. She described the boy, and Taylor identified him as 𝑾𝒐𝒏'𝒕, second son of Count 𝑳𝒃𝒃. The name sparked a memory of the cruel fame 𝑾𝒐𝒏'𝒕 would earn at 19. Soon, bringing sword slaves would be a trend. Count 𝑳𝒃𝒃 gave his son 10 slaves. 𝑾𝒐𝒏'𝒕 armed them, then slaughtered them all with ease. The moment they return, the butler escorts Laya to the drawing room, where an unexpected guest awaits. It's 𝑾𝒐𝒏'𝒕, leaving her confused. Why would someone so important be here? The 𝑳𝒃𝒃 family is no ordinary house. The king adores the queen, whose only relative is Count 𝑳𝒃𝒃. Even the mighty Hildegards dare not underestimate them. 𝑾𝒐𝒏'𝒕 introduces himself, then drops a bombshell, asking for her hand in marriage. Laya is stunned, convinced the boy is mad, but he offers a condition, a 5-year wait while he studies abroad. Relieved, she happily agrees with a yes. The innocent boy's face turns beet red. He's so pure. In truth, 𝑾𝒐𝒏'𝒕 came to clear the air about their library encounter. But the instant she appeared, he was captivated. He knew he had to make her his bride. Meanwhile, Laya considers 𝑾𝒐𝒏'𝒕 an almost perfect match. But she can't forget the future massacre he'll commit. She could never be with a man like that. This girl attracts nothing but psychopaths. Today, Laya resolves to teach Sion a new skill. She chooses swordsmanship, hoping he'll like it, ignoring that this blade will one day end her life. Shaking off the dark thought, she tells Sion her plan. And shockingly, he agrees. Next, she seeks her father's permission. Is this reality? Or is that madman plotting something twisted? Because he agrees without a single question. She then asks Sir Taylor to be Sion's instructor. He accepts, refusing any payment for his service. Laya asks why, and Taylor admits his intrigue. He senses a hidden potential within the young boy. Sir Taylor is no mere knight. He's the famed genius rookie of the order. Laya is thrilled by his acceptance. The knight kneels, pressing a kiss to the back of her hand. A deadly cinnamon roll. She's found a gem. Their intense training begins, with Laya watching happily from the sidelines. After their sparring, Taylor requests a private word, and they move to another room. A playful grin lights up her face. She jokes that he's about to reveal Sion's hidden genius. She nearly chokes on her tea when Taylor confirms it with a straight face. Her guess was right. Sion is a true prodigy with the sword. Laya wonders if he's already stronger than his teacher. Taylor's size makes it hard to tell, but he's certain Sion's insight into swordplay already surpasses his own. This stuns Laya, especially hearing such praise from a genius like him. Taylor then jokes there might be only one explanation, that Sion was a master swordsman in a past life. This knight is frighteningly perceptive. But Laya doesn't laugh. A cold anxiety grips her. Because what if he's right? She pushes the thought away. If it were true, Sion's hatred for her would run even deeper. Though he has nothing left to teach, Taylor wishes to continue advising Sion regularly. After all, Sion is his disciple now. This warms Laya's heart. He was just a slave a month ago. She wants him to be more than just skilled. She wants his talent acknowledged, for him to be treated with respect. It's all for survival, she tells herself. If he feels grateful, maybe he'll spare her life. That evening, regret consumes her. She finds herself weeping alone in the garden. Her father learned of Sion's skill and made a cruel choice, to send him to the royal tournament where matches end in death. Just then, Sion appears, saying Marie was looking for her. The boy has changed so much. He gently asks why she's out here, crying in the cold. She tells him the truth, tears falling as she describes the brutal death match. But Sion surprises her. He gently wipes her tears, then playfully squishes her cheeks. "How do I avoid dying?" he asks. When she says he must win, he declares with absolute confidence, "I can do it." He then walks her back to her room. His sudden gentleness feels like a waking dream. His face remains a perfect mask. But maybe, just maybe, in this timeline, they can find happiness. The day of that wretched tournament has arrived. With Taylor in the carriage, their private world vanished. Sion's vow of silence meant they couldn't speak freely. Laya plotted how to save Sion from the tournament, but noticed Taylor's legs were trembling. He was so anxious for Sion's first fight. That's it, this gentle giant is definitely boyfriend material. When they finally arrived, just before Sion joined the other participants, he warned Laya not to interfere, promising he wasn't lying about his victory. His intensity left her blushing and confused. The tournament began, and the Marquis was truly cruel, pitting a mere boy against grown men. But Sion was a storm, defeating everyone, even a swordsman with flowing hair, a wild-eyed man with a whip, and a shadowy assassin. Just like that, Sion claimed victory, earning a satisfied grin from the Marquis. Laya was just baffled. But then Sion smiled right at her, mouthing that he kept his promise, and relief washed over her. Look at that, everyone. He can finally smile again. Suddenly, the Marquis's loud laughter echoed, making Laya want to wipe that smirk off his face. "Girl, I feel you." The winner usually makes a request, but since Sion was Laya's, the Marquis let her choose. She immediately demanded Sion as her personal escort. Shockingly, her father agreed. So strange. But then Sir Taylor caught her eye, the big man openly weeping with joy. He is just the cutest. Today, Laya jolted awake from a nightmare of poisons. She ran to Sion's room, convinced her father had done something terrible. Her nightmare was a memory of the future. Sword slaves controlled by a poison that required a constant antidote, preventing any escape. It made sense now why her father agreed so easily. She suspected he'd already given Sion the poison. Yet when she asked, he just calmly denied eating anything suspicious. She'd been panicking so much, she didn't realize how close she was standing to him. And Sion was holding her hand. The touch made her pull back instantly, trying to calm her racing heart. They went out today, and Sion looked so handsome in his escort uniform, like her own little knight. It was just the two of them. Laya decided this was the perfect chance for his escape, so she went into a shop alone. When she came out, the little sprout was still there. She figured her hints weren't obvious enough. So, she tried the library, telling him she'd be a long time, but Sion was still waiting for her outside. Next, she went dress shopping, insisting it would take ages. She emerged to find him still there, ready to tease her about her taste in dresses. Fine. She ducked into yet another store. But the sun was setting, and this boy still hadn't left. Her frustration was mounting. The next day, she led them to a forest far from the estate, a place where someone could easily vanish. The perfect spot to disappear. Feeling they were deep enough, she said she was heading back to the carriage. The girl actually fell asleep, drooling a little. She woke up certain that Sion was finally gone. But then, a total jump scare. Sion had been staring at her from the carriage window the entire time. That deadpan face is priceless. The following day, they tried another forest, but but it triggered Leia's memories of the wolf attack. She ended up clinging to Sion for safety, making her mission to help him escape a complete failure. For days, they've been going to different places, but Sion refused to run. Leia was getting exhausted. So, today, in a beautiful flower field, she gave up and decided to rest beneath a large tree. She woke to find Sion still beside her. Finally, she broke down and asked why he hadn't left. He finally understood. That's why they had been going on all these strange outings. He confessed that while he wanted to escape, he felt like he couldn't. But he never mentioned Cecile was the reason. Instead, he softly asked her to stop trying and gently closed her eyes with his hand. Sion knew he was losing his mind. It all started that day he found Leia crying in the garden. He chose to accept this change inside him, and in doing so, he missed his chance to die, something he once desperately craved. He knows he's breaking the vow he made to his family to destroy all Hildegardes. It seems Leia has become his one exception. Today, while Leia and the loyal Sir Taylor were practicing, a horrifying vision of an adult Sion, covered in blood, flashed in her mind, gasping. She tried to leave, but her legs suddenly gave out. As Sion reaches for her, she recoils, stumbling backward and falling to the ground. He's left utterly bewildered. Just as they were getting close, her past trauma resurfaced. Leia chokes down the bitter health tea Marie has prepared. Gazing at the caring maid, Leia wonders if Marie can escape her fate next year. If her father finds her, he will surely end her. Marie was always so kind. Was her betrayal born from greed or pure desperation? With true concern, Leia asks Marie what is troubling her. Tears well up. Marie is that precious to her. Moved, Marie finally decides to confess. Leia learns of Marie's sick younger brother and the caretaker she hired for him. But the mounting medical bills were overwhelming. Now Leia understands why Marie had to steal. Leia wants Marie's brother brought to the mansion. Dr. Elvin can treat him, and she'll handle her father. Overcome with gratitude, Marie embraces Leia, vowing her eternal loyalty. Later, Leia visits a beautiful flower field, weaving a delicate crown just for Sion. She sits beside him, gently asking about his family. He stays silent, making Leia worry it's too soon. Just as she considers changing the topic, he unexpectedly begins to speak. He tells her of his parents and 6 siblings, Cashin being the eldest. It finally clicks why he reacted so badly to Cashin's name before, and a wave of guilt crashes over her. Sion recalls Cashin's dream of a soup shop, and how they teased him for hating carrots. He stops, noticing Leia is quietly weeping. She quickly denies it, blaming the pollen in her eyes. She asks if he likes carrots. He doesn't mind them, so she promises him a special carrot pie. And so, Sion continues his stories in a low voice, as she silently wipes away her tears. Winter has arrived, and with the cold, they spend their days inside. So she inevitably runs into her brothers, Pablo and Henry. Leia teases that Pablo's pants might burst, making Henry roar with laughter. This sparks a brawl between the boys, letting Leia and Sion slip away. Sion carefully asks if Leia is distant from her brothers. She confirms it, adding coldly that no one in her family would mourn her death. With a sad voice, she says she has no one, fearing Sion's questions. But to her utter surprise, Sion simply says he wants carrot pie. She beams, knowing he must have liked hers. Seeing her energetic again makes the young boy smile. Today, her father summons Leia. It's time to pay the price for Sion's life. She remembers kneeling before him, promising him everything. Yes, she promised him a prophecy. She invented a tale of a yearly prophetic dream. A secret she'd never share, for fear of being used. But for Sion's sake, she made an exception. For her prophecy, she tells her father of Countess Corona and her husband. Soon, rumors spread. The current Count Coriona allegedly poisoned the former count and his wife to steal the title. The news reaches the Hildegard estate. With this gossip on everyone's lips, Leia's father summons her at once. She can feel his lingering doubt, wondering if she heard the rumor from somewhere else. One sign of his suspicion is his question. Why isn't she injured, if revealing prophecies harms her? She cleverly clarifies the injuries only appear after the dream becomes reality. Then, her father mentions her birthday card. With a cruel smirk, he offers a present, which she accepts. Leia wonders why Sir Taylor looks so happy. She chose him as her escort for her week-long trip, the gift she requested. They head to the capital, our girl excited for the National Library. Since they will be together, Leia lets Taylor in on the secret. Sion can speak, but it's a secret. When he says Leia's name, Taylor is stunned by his wonderful voice. He uses his best puppy dog eyes to get Sion to say his name too, sparking a playful squabble. Model. Leia notices Sir Taylor doesn't seem like a typical knight. He declares he wields his sword for the weak, then whispers his belief in Sion's great destiny. Smart and kind, just my type. The massive National Library even has a restaurant. Laya heads there to research the return stone. A little bit of shiny jewelry persuades the librarian to grant her access to the forbidden archives. But after days of searching, she finds nothing. When she suggests going home, the knight is visibly shocked. He quickly grabs a week's worth of books, a clever excuse for them to remain in the capital. So Laya decides she'll make the most of her free time too. They're now at the restaurant, and when Laya orders carrot pie, Sir Taylor chuckles at how she resembles a rabbit. So cute and gentle. It reminds Laya of her pet rabbit, Theirs, from before her regression. She isn't joking, which makes Taylor tease her while Sion lets out a soft giggle. When the pie arrives, Laya playfully asks if the restaurant's is better than hers. He offers her a bite from his fork. She shyly accepts, then declares hers is tastier, bringing a brilliant smile to the little boy's face as he agrees. Her cheeks flush red as Sir Taylor sits there on the sidelines, also blushing as he watches them. He pointedly reminds Laya he's her closest knight, implying he expects an invitation. He's talking about your wedding, girl. After eating, Laya picks up one of Taylor's books, curious if he'd actually read through it. It's just a fantasy novel about a boy exploring 𝒃𝒏𝒕 Rock Mountain, where he rescues a traveler with mismatched eyes. One eye like the ocean, the other like the sun. The traveler tells stories of his ancestors' quests. He speaks of a small stone with the power to reverse time. This is it, the very book she needed. Taylor is truly her lucky charm. Laya reads on, discovering the stone consumes life energy, and if taken before the age of 20, it brings certain death. Goosebumps crawl up her skin. She was 20 when she swallowed it, narrowly avoiding oblivion. Today they're at a play when Laya suddenly hears the name Lady Donovan, which instantly captures her attention. The women ahead of them are praising Lady Donovan's flawless investments, including today's successful play. They intend to greet her, so Laya decides to use her Hillgard name to request a meeting as well. The ladies graciously give Laya a chance to speak privately with Lady Donovan. And wow, she radiates the aura of a beautiful ice queen. Lady Donovan listens intently as Laya tells a story of a lovely swan, cared for by a human who eventually suffered great cruelty. The swan endured everything, hoping the human would one day show it some kindness. But fate took a darker turn when the human cut open the swan's belly. This isn't just a story. Laya pleads with Lady Donovan to divorce the Count, to escape being beaten to death in the future. That was how Laya, in her fourth life, had become the next Countess Donovan. Over the next few days, the trio enjoys the capital's plays, but Laya soon feels a sense of boredom. So she buys every single circus ticket from a child on the street. Seeing the same kid again and again felt strange, prompting them to investigate the circus grounds. It turned out the circus owner was a human trafficker, leading to his immediate imprisonment. Thankfully, they sent the kidnapped girl to a safe orphanage. Look at these 3 completing side quests. After 7 days, it's finally time to return home. Sir Taylor expresses his deep gratitude for the extended stay. But as they depart, Lady Donovan arrives, asking for a word with Laya. I bet she'll become an important ally. And that's all for today, everyone. What are your thoughts? As always, don't forget to like and comment for the next part. Remember to subscribe and ring the bell for updates. See you in the next one. Model.